Hey there. I know a lot of trainers and speakers want to talk about how great they are and stand on their soapbox. But today I'm going to share with you some distinctions that I've experienced over the last 30 years that are a result of all the things that I did wrong. And I'm going to be vulnerable with you and open and real with the goal to impact your life in a really positive way. I'm confident our time together will be special. And I'd like to thank you for joining me today. I've had a lot of great successes in my career. Um, It's been well documented that I have sold over 400 homes a year consecutively, year over year, ranked in the top 10 worldwide amongst the major real estate franchise. Twice I was the number two agent in the world, generated over $3 million a year in commission income, had 64 sales in a single month. I was able to build an exit strategy and sell my business. And today I coach and train many of North America's top agents. Recently, I was named one of the 125 most successful, influential persons in the real estate industry by Success Magazine. So it really is an honor and a privilege for you to be here. Thank you for taking your time. I only share that so that you know that your time here today will be worthwhile. And we're going to dive right in on how to get 3 new listings really quickly, very fast. But even better than that, we're going to do it without cold calling, door knocking, working your sphere of influence, begging for business, working more hours. And once you establish your first 3 listings, you'll be able to rinse and repeat and do it over and over and over again. And that's how I scaled my business. Now, as I shared with you, we're going to use my vulnerability and lessons learned to help you avoid a lot of the things and mistakes that I've made in my career. And we're going to save you time and shorten the learning curve. I spent 5 years failing miserably, struggling early in my career, living commission check to commission check, living on credit cards, spending money that I didn't have. I burnt hundreds of thousands of dollars in wasteful advertising, personal branding, promotion that just didn't work or produce any results. So the first thing I want to share with you that a mentor taught me 5 years into the business that changed the trajectory of my life is that there are 2 keys to success. You need skill and you need motivation. And I want you to ask yourself, which is more important? If you had to give the edge, is it skill or is it motivation? Which is more important? Most, like me, would say motivation. I've been doing seminars and speaking around the nation for many, many years now. And I asked the audience, and without a doubt, without question, motivation tops the response, just as I thought in the early 90s. But a mentor of mine said, hey, let's take your real estate hat off for a minute and let's see which is really more important. Let's pretend that you're barricaded in a room and there's a bomb and you can't get out. Are you motivated to live? So do you pull the red wire, the yellow wire, the blue wire, the green wire? Do you pull all the wires together? If you don't have the skill to deactivate a bomb, you're dead. So in this case, which is more important, skill or motivation? I think you'd agree with me, skill. Well, you go, Brian, that's unique. That's different. Well, let's try something else. What if you were to go skydiving? I went for my 50th birthday and I asked the tandem who was taking me up, I said, how long have you been doing this? Because I was a little nervous, to be honest with you, to be frank and candid. And he joked with me. He goes, yeah, I've only been doing this a couple of months. And I said, whoa. And it was a riveting shock. And he goes, I'm just kidding. I've got 20,000 jumps under my belt. And it gave me relief. So if you were going to go skydiving, you're motivated to open the parachute, but you don't even know at what altitude to do it, or how to pull it, or where it is, or what happens if things go wrong. So I think in this scenario, you'd also agree that skill trumps motivation. Let's look at another example, day trading in the stock market. Do people make money day trading? Yeah, people make careers out of it. I have friends who make millions of dollars a year just trading in the stock market. Well, how come I don't? I'd be motivated to make millions of dollars a year sitting on my tush at home, pushing some buttons on a computer. That'd be pretty sweet. That'd be motivating, but I don't have the skills. So skills trump motivation. What if I gave you the keys to a 747? You wouldn't be able to fly it because you don't have the skills. You'd be motivated to go around the world, go to a nice tropical place, maybe take your family on a vacation to Hawaii or Africa, or Egypt, or go anywhere that's on your bucket list. But without the skills, you can't fly a plane. If your car broke down today, what's the likelihood you could fix it? You'd probably have to call AAA or get a mechanic to fix it. So the lesson here is that skill trumps motivation in everything. And there are skills involved in selling real estate. and selling high volumes of real estate. Lead generation is a skill. Lead conversion is a skill. Client acquisition is a skill. And there's an order and sequence, and we'll talk a little bit about the order and the sequence, but I want to show you just a couple of results from some ads that I'm going to share with you today. This one's an ad targeting buyers, and in 7 days, on $65 and $95 spent, it generated 14 buyer leads. So my question to you is, have you developed the skill to generate 14 leads in a week? If not, you're in the right place, and I'm excited to have you here. I can turn lead generation on or off like a thermostat. This one's for buyers. This one's for sellers. We'll look at this example, sell without listing. They ran this ad for 30 days, and in 30 days, they generated 12 seller leads at a cost of $11 a piece, $132. So I'd like you to write down cost per lead, cost per sale. Some of you are spending way too much money, especially on third-party sources. Zillow Flex, 40% cost of sale. Don't you think that if you could generate 26 leads, you might sell 2 or 3 houses? So your cost per sale is under $200. It's pretty awesome. So there's 3 skills that we have to acquire or improve upon to grow our income or have huge income. One is lead generation activities. Lead generation and attraction. The more incoming opportunities you have, the better. And think about this. Everybody that I talk to is raising their hand and identifying themselves that they're a buyer or that they're a seller. They're in the market to buy or sell real estate. I don't chase people hoping to find a buyer or seller. Buyers and sellers come to me, and I'm going to teach you today how easy it is to do that. As a result, we get more appointments, and I've developed a skill for conversion. Conversion is a skill. What you say matters, how you say it matters, when you say it matters. And then when we have an appointment, client acquisition is a skill. And we have buyer and seller presentations that are being done in our industry today that are absolutely horrific and pathetic. And we're getting by with weak skills as an industry. So if you improve the skills in these 3 areas, I promise you, your business, your income will skyrocket. So let's identify the biggest problem agents have. There's so much competition out there that the general public, A, doesn't have a high regard for our industry because we're salespeople, and most salespeople don't have great skills. They have commission breath. And secondly, because there's so many, we just all look alike. So if I'm thinking about selling my home in your marketplace, who do I call? I have so many options. Well, we've got to do a better job of differentiating ourselves, and putting your picture on things isn't going to be the secret sauce that attracts people. Winning on personality isn't enough. Everybody has a good personality. So it's critically important that you realize that results don't come in high volume from personality, experience, or track record. And I'm going to show you today that regardless of your experience and track record, you can attract buyers and sellers like a magnet to metal and get them to call you because they're not looking for experience or track record. Now, that's not to say that that's not important in step 3 when you're making your presentation. You want to have benefits that articulate differentiation and why they should choose you. But to attract buyers and sellers, talking about your experience or track record doesn't matter because everybody does that. This is an example of ineffective marketing that drives me absolutely crazy, and vulnerably and admittedly, I did this too because other people in the industry were doing it, so I did it. And frankly, when I had a success, it felt good to brag about it. So happy closing day for my clients, Tammy. Congratulations on your new home. But that's not going to generate any business. So my question for you is, do you want likes or do you want leads? I hope that you want leads. If you were a professional outside of the real estate industry, if you were a doctor and doctors marketed themselves and advertised themselves like realtors on social media, it would look like this. Just performed heart surgery for my patient, going to go get that new Maserati convertible, and I'm so blessed to do what I love. If you know anyone needing surgery, keep me in mind. How stupid would that be? Yet we as an industry do this over and over and over again. So today I want to share with you in a short amount of time how you can differentiate yourself through compelling, irresistible marketing messages. compelling, irresistible marketing messages. Your message is all about your offer, and your messages and your offers will become your brand. See, it's not about branding you, the name, John Smith, Sally Rogers. It's about branding and marketing your message, and your message should be unique and different. If you keep going on the same path year over year and you have incremental gains, you'll have linear growth. This is linear growth. This is stagnant growth, no growth. And some people have stagnant growth. You know, they sold the same amount of volume last year as they did the year before. That's stagnant. Linear is you have a little bit of growth year over year. You keep going up. Well, I'm going to tell you that in my career, I had geometric growth. I struggled. In 1994, I sold 40 homes. I was working 7 days a week. I generated about $200,000 in income. But the truth was I spent $300,000 to do it, and I was upside down 100,000. I was trying everything. And then when I learned direct response marketing and some of the principles and strategies and tactics I'm sharing with you today, my business took a geometric climb, and I went from 40 transactions working 7 days a week to 117 deals a year with no assistants, no buyer's agents, all by myself, working less. That's right. I was able to minimize my work hours because I turned myself from a salesperson into an order taker. And the way that you do that is you attract, you don't chase, you differentiate yourself. So we'll talk about that. And where it all turned in 1994, I paid money I didn't have to go visit the #1 production salesperson in the world for Remax, Marshall Redder, in Grand Rapids, Michigan. And when I got to Grand Rapids, going from the airport to his office, I saw this billboard. This billboard has an offer on it, free market analysis. That's an oldie and a goodie, and you should do that. One of my pillars for lead generation is offering free market evaluations. He also has We Trade and Buy Homes for Cash. So what's interesting about this is he had 109 sales in 1994 when I saw this billboard in the month of March. January, February, March. 3 months, 109 sales, and he would have somebody change this number at the end of each month. He sold over 400 homes a year in 1994. I learned so much from Marshall. So we're going on listing appointment after listing appointment. In 2 days, I went on 17 listing appointments with him. How much do you think I learned from hanging around him? You know, proximity is power. You become a product of your environment. And Marshall was an odd duck. So he wasn't the most handsome guy in the world. No offense, Marshall, but he was strange. He was different. And he'd put these signs up, "Will trade." And I go, "Marshall, that's dumb. That's stupid." And he says, "Brian, you're dumb. You're stupid. Just watch." So we'd go from one appointment to the other. We'd get back to his office. He'd have 8 new messages. "Hi, I'm calling on the house on 123 Oak Street. It says will trade. Can you tell me more about what that means?" And he'd have dozens of messages every day on just a $10 sign rider. Now, what's important to note here is the people that are leaving messages are people that are interested in real estate. So he's now talking to buyers and sellers, not people. He had a huge unfair advantage over the competition. And I'd listen to him call people back because he mastered the skill at conversion, getting the appointment. And he'd call them back and he'd say, "Thanks for calling." How it works is we work with lots of buyers, and sometimes we can facilitate the trade of your house. We can get your home sold so that you can buy the house that you want. When can we get together to explore the opportunity? Something very simple and basic like that. And then he would have a listing or buyer appointment. So I was blown away. I went back to my marketplace back in New Hampshire. It was the first thing I did. I bought a dozen sign riders that said will trade. And my business went, whoa, it went straight through the roof because I had people calling me. See, the reason we're not selling more real estate, the reason we're working 7 days a week is because we don't have a pipeline of business. The results were unbelievable. And as I shared with you, I went from 40 deals a year to 117. That's pretty astonishing. I stood out in the marketplace, not because I was some Superman, but because I was using marketing messages that stood out that people associated and linked to me. So I want to show you another example outside of the real estate industry. This is my favorite restaurant in the country, Skull's Rainbow Room in Nashville, Tennessee. Imagine going to your favorite restaurant. You bring your VIP client, or you're taking somebody out for their birthday, special occasion, anniversary, and you sit down and the waiter or waitress comes over to you and says, "How can I help you?" And you go, "Well, could I get some menus?" Imagine if the waiter said, "We don't have menus." You'd be freaked out, right? Well, my question is, every successful marketer has a menu of products and services. And most real estate agents don't have a menu of products and services. And I call my real estate menu Brian Moses 5-star real estate programs for buyers and sellers. And I have different offers for buyers and different offers for sellers. So we'll show you that. And that's the secret to generating and attracting leads. That's the secret, by having multiple offers and multiple messages. Now, I'll tell you a quick story here that's true, real story. A few years ago, it was Thanksgiving at the Moses house, and we were expecting a good amount of people to come. And my wife said, "Hey, Thanksgiving's coming in a few days. When is the landscaper doing the fall cleanup? There's sticks and debris and leaves. Yeah, our house doesn't look really good." And I go, "Oh my God, I forgot to set it up." She goes, "Well, you don't need to do the whole yard, but could you at least just clean up the entrance with the boys and get it looking presentable?" So I said, "Yeah, we'll take care of it." So my sons and I go out to the shed the next morning to rake the yard, and I go to get the rakes, and the rakes are gone. I look at the boys and they look away, and I believe they took the rakes. They've never fessed up to it, but they didn't want to rake the yard. So I said, "No worries, I can solve this. We're going to go to Lowe's, because that's where I go to get my hardware supplies. We'll buy 3 rakes." I tell my wife we're on our way to Lowe's, and my wife says, "No, no, no. We just got a flyer from Home Depot." So here's what I want you to understand. In this flyer, they had rakes on sale for $17.97. So I'm like, okay, screw it. We'll go to Home Depot. I'm not loyal, and neither is the general public. There are people in your market right now that need to buy or sell. True or false? And they're about to call their hairdresser who has a real estate license, someone they play tennis with, maybe somebody they know in their neighborhood. Everybody knows 2 or 3 realtors. So they're about to call their agent that they're familiar with. But with a good marketing message, we can get them to come to you instead. That's what Home Depot did. They had a good marketing message. They had rakes are on sale. And look at how many other offers that they have. They have ladders, they have storage bins, they have floor mats, they have fertilizer, flowers, refrigerators. And this is an 18-page menu of things that would give people a reason to go to Home Depot. So we went to Home Depot. Now, here's what's instructive. I see the guy in the orange apron, and I go, "I need 3 of these rakes." And he goes, "No, you don't want to buy those rakes. Those rakes are garbage. They're made of aluminum. They bend. Leaves get stuck in them. People aren't happy. The handles give you blisters. But I'd like to show you, you can get them if you want, but nope, you're not going to be happy with them." And I go, "No, what do you got instead?" He goes, "We have these Rubbermaid rakes. They're made of rubber. They don't break. They don't bend. They've got a broader sweep. They'll do 3 times the work, the area, in a fraction of the time. They've got a rubber handle, no blisters." I go, "Very interesting. How much are they?" He goes, $89. I go, "Phew." I go, "Well, is that the best rake you have?" Now I'm starting to inquire. He goes, "Well, I don't know if you want a leaf blower." I go, "That's the answer. I'll take 3 of those." So here's what I want you to understand. Lead generation is independent of client acquisition. I have created a master class. I am a master at getting buyers and sellers to call me on compelling, sexy little messages that they end up not using. Sell your home without listing it, for example. So the message is sell your home without listing it for sale. No signs, no open houses, quick, easy, and convenient. And people flock to that message and go, "How does that work?" Now I'm talking to people who want to sell their home. It's pretty brilliant, right? I tell them it works great. I'm in the real estate business, and we're always working with buyers. And sometimes we can match a buyer up with a seller's home. When can I come and take a look at your home? So step number 1, generate the lead. Step number 2, get the appointment. And then step number 3, acquire the client. So when I'm there, I explain to them that price is a function of supply and demand. And my buyer might like the home, but they're actually looking for something a little smaller. They wanted something that they could put some sweat equity into. You've got a beautiful home, Mr. Seller. And I identify the reason why it's not a fit for my buyer. I go, but I come across buyers all the time. We can keep it in mind. Or if you don't care who we sell your property to, do you? And they go, no, I don't care who you sell it to. I go, well, price is a function of supply and demand. And the more demand you get on your home, the better price you'll receive. They go, yeah, that makes sense. I go, would you mind if I share your property with everybody in my office, with all my colleagues? They go, no, that'd be fine, because that'll increase the demand. What about if I share it with all my colleagues in the industry? Century 21, Keller Williams, Remax, Coldwell Banker, Prudential, Better Homes and Gardens. They go, that'd be fine. And could I also advertise it on hundreds of different websites, Zillow, Realtor.com, to increase the demand on your home? And they go, yeah, that's okay. So I end up walking out with the listing. Just like I walked out of Home Depot, I called on a $17 rake and I walked out with 3 leaf blowers. So people call me on an offer, sell without listing, and then they end up listing their home with me. It's really that easy. So to create this process, we got to develop the skill of marketing. And the first skill in marketing is to determine your ideal client profile. And most agents aren't very clear at who they want to attract. Do they want buyers? Do they want sellers? What type of buyers and sellers do they want? If we were going fishing, would it make sense? Would it be valuable before we get in the boat to identify what type of fish we're fishing for? I think you'd agree that that would be prudent. Different fish have different habits, swim at different depths. It'd be helpful to know what depths the marlin and tuna and bluefish and sailfish swim at, if that's what you're going after, versus if you're fishing for sharks. So if you know who you want, if you know you want luxury buyers, for example, or you know, home sellers in a particular geography or neighborhood, you want to identify your target market. What demographic, what geographic, what are the behaviors of these clients? Where do they work out? Where do they go grocery shopping? So that we can put our messaging in front of them, just like if we had a fish finder in the ocean. So I want you to do some research, and I want to make sure that we're fishing where the fish are. There's areas in your community where there's not a lot of turnover. So I wouldn't go advertising or targeting those areas where there's not lots of turnover. You want to make sure that there's a good average sales price. In fact, you can raise your average sales price with this concept by targeting higher priced neighborhoods. But you want to make sure that there's some turnover. Once you know that there's turnover there, then we need bait. So step number 1 is determine your ICP. Step number 2 is what's going to be your message. Messages. See, you want to have a tackle box full of messages, and I'm going to give you some examples of real estate messages or bait in just a minute here. It's called direct response marketing. And my tackle box is full of compelling, irresistible messages. But before we get into real estate, let me take your real estate hats and goggles off for a second, and let's look at other industries and look at how they've mastered direct response marketing. A few years ago, the Boston Celtics were in the NBA Finals. And my son said, hey, Dad, can we go to the playoffs? And I go, geez, Hayden, those tickets are going to be pricey. He goes, well, I thought I'd ask. And I don't know, you ever think that your phone is listening to you and now all of a sudden I'm getting these ads? That's not a coincidence, by the way. So I get this ad, Celtics playoff tickets from $89. I click on it. I click on the offer, the bait, $89. That sounds like a good deal, right? And what I learn is that this isn't even in the Boston Garden. This is a ticket to a watch party across the street. Well, I don't want to go to a watch party. So I click on what I want. And then there's a menu. Do you want to sit in the balcony? Do you want to sit in the loge? Do you want to sit in the stadium level? Do you want to sit on the floor? And I go, I want to sit on the loge. Tickets in the loge were $3,000 a piece. I ended up buying 2. So now I'm giving you 2 real life examples where I called on something. The first one was a $17 rake, and I ended up buying $200 leaf blowers. The second example is I inquired on an $89 offer for Celtics playoff tickets, and I ended up spending $6,000 on 2 tickets. Are you guys okay if we can get buyers and sellers to reach out to you? And this is not bait and switch. This is bait and then give them what they want. JetBlue, big winter sale, one-way fares as low as $34. Do you think that increased inquiries through reservations? You bet it did. How many $34 airfares do you think they sold though? Hey, where can I go from $34? You can go from Boston to Richmond. I don't want to go to Richmond. I want to go to Hawaii. When would you like to go? Would you like me to price it out for you? Lead conversion. Yeah, we have 2 seats left to Hawaii on those dates that you want to travel. They're pricing out at $587 a piece round trip. Would you like me to book them? Yep, go ahead. Now, this is the third example of someone who got me good marketing. Have a poop-free yard this spring with Pet Butler's Waste Removal Service, Londonderry, New Hampshire. I live in New Hampshire. For only $8.99 a week, low scoop for up to two dogs. Well, I have 2 Great Danes, and as you can imagine, Great Danes have big poop. So I call on this, and they were a master at conversion. They said, when can I come over and see your yard? We have to measure your yard. I go, well, you come over anytime you want. We'd also like to meet your dogs. Great, no problem. I've got great dogs. You'll love them. The guy comes over, measures my yard, sees my dogs, and he goes, it's going to be $39 per dog per week. So roughly $80 for each visit. He recommends coming twice a month, so $160 a month. I say, if I don't have to pick up the poop, that's a bargain for me. When can you start? He goes, I'll start today. So I called on an offer and I didn't get what was there. He converted me and acquired me as a client. Let's look at a fourth example that I got hooked on. I saw this on television, 7-Night Adventures, Caribbean of the Seas, Symphony of the Seas, Royal Caribbean, $3.99, starting at $3.99. Well, Symphony of the Seas is one of the largest ships in Royal Caribbean's fleet. And I can tell you, you can't walk on that boat for $399, but you will inquire to reservations and they will convert you to a appointment. They will start quoting you out and do a presentation, and then they'll convert you to a client. And if my budget's $399, they'll convert me to a client on a lower ship, a lower graded ship. Or if I don't want to go on the lower graded ship and my budget is over $399, I'll book a vacation for a family of 4 on Symphony of the Seas, which Brian Moses has done, calling on this ad that was way more than $399. So lead generation, lead conversion, client acquisition. Are you following with me here? Are you still with me? Great. Once we have our messages, what type of media are we using? So I showed you some examples. I showed you social media. I showed you television media. There's hundreds and hundreds of different media that you can choose from. But I'd like you to categorize it in 3 simple types. Expensive media, radio, television, billboards, Zillow, that's expensive. Anything over $500 a month is expensive. Inexpensive. What is inexpensive media, Brian? Social media can be inexpensive. I'll show you that. Business cards can be a very effective source of media. Signage can be a great source of media. And they're inexpensive. How much is a sign writer? $10? Sign calls are the best calls in the industry. So you don't need to spend hundreds, thousands of dollars on lead generation when you can take control of it yourself. So it's expensive, inexpensive, and free. What's an example of free media? Your email signature, social media posts, community events, voicemail greetings on your phone. So we have dozens and dozens of examples of each of these strategies, and I coach people to start with free, invest a little bit of money, and with the return on the investment from these 2 sources, we can invest a little bit more and we can be everywhere in the marketplace that our ideal clients would show up. I talked about business cards. You know, I see this in every market that I go, cork boards. You know, this is a restaurant in my hometown. There's a realtor here. There's a Keller Williams agent here. There's a realtor here. And you all know that this doesn't work. And the reason it doesn't work is because there's such a population, oversaturation of real estate agents. If you were a plumber, you might get a call because there's a shortage of plumbers. There's a shortage of accountants. There's a shortage of, auto mechanics. But there's no shortage of real estate agents. But what if you started putting messaging on your media? So here's Nick Taylor, coaching client of mine in Mahoma, Illinois. Free list of homes priced below market anywhere in the US. He is targeting people who are moving out of the area so he can get the listing. When they call him on this, he'll refer them, but he's more interested in getting the listing. What a genius, brilliant message. Free list of homes priced below market anywhere in the U.S. includes new construction, 55 and older, condos, single floor living, bank foreclosures, probates, estates, homes not yet listed, no cost, no obligation. And what's cool is this will make the phone ring, but you also have to develop the skills of lead conversion. Well, where am I going to get the foreclosures? Don't worry, they exist. We can show you. But it's really about getting the listing. They called on this, but we end up getting the listing. Here's more messages on business cards. Sell your home without listing it for sale. No signs, no open houses, quick, easy, and convenient. We talked a little bit about that. I'll talk more about that in a second. Thinking of selling your Wilmington home this year? Find out instantly what it's worth. Instant cash offer on your home. Fix it and list it program. Get up to $20,000 in free money and upgrades. Sell your home without listing it for sale again. This works everywhere. Postcards, business cards, social media ads, sell without listing. Now, just to give you proof, here's a screenshot of all the leads that came from social media in a 24-hour period. So 1, 2, 3. Imagine getting 3 seller leads every day within every 24 hours. And look at this time frame, ASAP. Are you interested in talking to people who want to sell their home? Here's a social media campaign, sell without listing. 14 leads for $65. I would contend that every single one of you watching would convert at least one of those to a listing and a sale. So your cost per sale would be $65. That'd be pretty cool, right? Here's another one. 14 leads for $65. Oh yeah, same one. 14 leads for $65. So there we go. Alan puts this on a flyer. That's another type of media. Here's a different message on a business card. Get up to $20,000 in free money to buy a home. Well, in most markets, there's special funding, government funding for inner city and developmental areas that are less desirable. So this will make the phone ring off the hook. Then we get the appointment and then we acquire the client. And if they don't want to live in the inner city, guess what? They come up with their own down payment and we sell them a house where they want to be. Other media. Inexpensive media to put a business card size message in a restaurant menu, placemats, social media. Talk about government funding. Rhode Island's first generations grant that gives you $25,000 of free money to buy a house was so successful they've added 40 more grants to give out. If you're considering buying a home in Rhode Island, you may qualify for this grant. Call or text me. Subsidized renovations program. Get $25,000 to fix or upgrade your home. Would you agree that these messages are compelling and irresistible? And when you have compelling and irresistible messages, you don't need to be at the beck and call and have your cell phone on 24/7. People will leave you a message because you're different than the other real estate agents. You run this ad, interest rates as low as 4% with a preferred lender. They call their hairdresser, the person that they play tennis with, and they go, hey, what are interest rates right now? Oh, they're 6, 6.5. Oh, do you have anything in the 4s? No, those aren't available. So they go, okay. And then they call you instead. Signage, great opportunity. Most realtors don't have a very good signage strategy. So I'll show you how to create a signage strategy on steroids. Instead of doing open houses, we do homes sold to the highest bidder. Why? Because people call and go, what does that mean? And you go, it means that the sellers have priced the property at $799 and it's open for inspection this Saturday from 11 to 1, and they're going to sell it to the highest bidder. Would you like to see it? See, it's all about generating the inquiry. You want to target sellers? You want to break into and penetrate a market? We have ads for that too. Here's the results. You know, Ryan Critch, coaching member for many years, runs this ad. 1 call, 1 appointment. Pretty cool. Here's what not to do. So many real estate agents, I see it all over social media. I see it in the mail. I see it in their newsletter, talking about why pricing your home is critical and why you shouldn't overprice your home. Well, you're not wrong, but that's not going to generate leads. That conversation should happen in step 3 when you're at the seller's house. not in advertising. So we do the opposite. Name your asking price. Name your asking price with Thor Sorensen. Name your asking price with Matt Kossel. Name your asking price with John Quinn. The days of multiple offers may not be around for long. So they call, and after they've talked to two agents, didn't like the price, and they call you. Now you have a seat at the table. You still have to have the skills to get them to price it right, but we'll coach you and teach you that. Video is another effective source of media. So you can take any of the messages I just showed you and put them on video. Door hangers. And what happens is when you master the art of lead generation, you get 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. Imagine getting 10 new leads a day shoved into your CRM. Probably don't even need that many. And then this is just proof in the pudding, results after results after results. Wholly explicitive. 3 calls from 1 development, all homes over $1 million. I already have 2 appointments, and the best part is I have a buyer. This is a text message from one of my coaching clients. This is on the Sell Without Listing campaign. One of my coaching clients, Kevin, sent me a screenshot of a message he got from Jim Kuchar, a seller prospect in Warwick, Rhode Island. Sent Kevin this message. We received your letter last week regarding property listings in Warwick Neck. We're at 240 Narragansett Bay, and we may be interested in selling. So here's what I want to say in closing. If you know what to do to reach your goal, you don't have a big enough goal. In order to have life, you have vital organs. And if you remove a vital organ from your body, you're dead. You remove your heart, your liver, your kidneys, any one of them, you're dead. If I asked you, hey, which one could you live without? The answer is none of them. Well, there's vital organs to running a successful real estate business: lead generation, lead conversion, client acquisition, handling objections, negotiations. And the value of a coach is to help you develop your skills. There's always a higher level. It's not that you're bad, it's just that there's another level. I was in your shoes at one point, but I worked over the years at becoming a proficient, competent, and eventually an expert in the model of skill acquisitions. There are 2 worlds that exist. One is the created world and one is the reported world. The reported world is things are slow, interest rates are high. And the created world is the world that you want to create. Here's what I can tell you. You can have the life that you dream of and desire. You can accomplish anything you set your mind to. Perhaps you don't want to be the #1 agent in the world as I did. And I failed, by the way. I only made it to #2. But the sky is the limit. I coach and train some of the best agents in North America. They pay me very, very handsomely to coach them. But I'd like to invite you to test drive me and accelerate your results and join my Inner Circle program. We do 2 live calls a month. I give you access to the most comprehensive resource library in the industry, samples of dozens and dozens of proven ads that work, that are scalable and duplicatable, and access to a private members-only group where you can collaborate with other like-minded individuals and mastermind with them. Because let's face it, the agents in your marketplace aren't going to help you. They're your competitors. And you have access to me to get your questions done. We do 2 calls each month. You get to ask me questions. You have access to a resource library. You get to download all my scripts, all my training, so that you and your team, if you have a team, can improve your skills. We used to sell this for $497 a month. But I'm 60 years old now, and life is good. Money's not an issue for me, and I wanted to make a greater impact. So I wanted to make this affordable for everybody watching. And I've slashed the price from $497 a month to practically giving it away at $97 a month. No contracts. You can cancel at any time. You can download everything, go through it. If it's not everything I told you it was, you're out $97, but you won't be out. So just scan this QR code, and I'll look forward to seeing you in the Inner Circle program. It'll bring you to this order page. It'll reduce the price to $97 with this QR code, and we'll look forward to having you on the first call. Thanks for watching today, and I appreciate you staying till the very end. Have a great day.